In the park, where children laughed, cyclists whizzed by, and the wind swirled among the trees, one German shepherd stood out from the bustling scene. She came here every day, without fail, heading straight to the same tree. No one knew why. Her eyes, filled with a shadow of sadness, gazed into the distance as she sat by the trunk, as if guarding something invisible. But when people discovered the reason behind her visits, their hearts were shattered. Friends, what do you think of this touching story? Let us know in the comments where you're watching from and share your thoughts. We'd love to see your support. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that inspire and make you reflect. The park was alive with its usual symphony of sounds and movements. Children's laughter echoed through the air as they raced across the open fields, their colorful scarves trailing behind them in the wind. Cyclists zipped by on the winding paths, the hum of spinning wheels blending with the rustling of leaves that swayed in the breeze. It was a scene of ordinary vibrancy, the kind of place where life unfolded effortlessly, day after day. Amidst this lively chaos, a solitary figure often stood out, a German shepherd. Her presence was as constant as the park's familiar rhythms, yet she seemed out of place in the ever-shifting tide of activity. Each day, at nearly the same time, she would appear from one of the wooded paths, her steps purposeful but unhurried. She was a striking figure, her sleek coat catching the sunlight, her posture poised and confident. Yet, there was something about her that hinted at an unspoken story, a quiet gravity that contrasted with the cheerful energy of her surroundings. The dog never lingered near the playground or chased after the squirrels darting through the trees. She ignored the scraps of food left behind on picnic tables and the tempting calls of passers-by who tried to beckon her closer. Instead, her path was always the same. She would make her way to a large oak tree standing proudly near the center of the park. Its gnarled branches reached high into the sky, their shadows stretching across the ground like long, protective arms. Reaching the tree, the shepherd would sit down at its base, her body still but her eyes alert. She didn't bark or whine, nor did she seem restless or afraid. Her gaze would fixate somewhere in the distance, her dark, soulful eyes reflecting a depth of emotion that no one could quite place. To those who noticed her, she appeared almost like a sentinel, quietly guarding something unseen. People began to take note of her strange ritual. Regular parkgoers whispered among themselves, speculating about the dog and her unwavering routine. Was she waiting for someone? Had she been abandoned? Children pointed her out to their parents, curious about the lone shepherd who always sat at the same tree. Yet, no one dared approach her too closely. There was a dignity to her solitude that seemed almost sacred, a silent message that this was her space, her moment. As the days turned into weeks, her presence became a quiet fixture of the park. The tree she visited, once unremarkable, now seemed imbued with a sense of mystery. Even the wind seemed to pause as it passed through its branches, as if respecting the shepherd's vigil. Those who passed by could feel it too. There was something profound about her daily ritual, something that hinted at a story waiting to be uncovered. But for now, the German shepherd sat alone, her form a steady silhouette against the bustling backdrop of the park. The world moved around her, bright and chaotic, but she remained rooted to her spot, her purpose known only to her. Whispers began to circulate among the park's regular visitors. Why this tree? Some wondered. What could possibly draw her here every day? Speculations ranged from the whimsical to the tragic. Perhaps she had buried a treasure at its base, one visitor suggested with a smile. Maybe she was waiting for her owner to return, another offered, their tone more somber. The stories varied, but one thing remained constant: her daily visits became a poignant symbol of something deeply personal, something that spoke to the heart even as it defied explanation. Children pointed her out to their parents, their young voices filled with wonder. "Why does the dog sit there, Mama?" a child asked one day. The mother looked at the shepherd, her own curiosity reflected in her eyes. "I don't know," she replied softly, as though speaking too loudly might disrupt the dog's quiet vigil. As days turned into weeks, the shepherd's presence transformed the oak tree from an ordinary landmark into a place imbued with meaning. People began to linger nearby, their own routines pausing as they watched the dog perform hers. Some even brought blankets or chairs to sit at a respectful distance, drawn to the quiet mystery she embodied. Despite the growing attention, the dog remained unchanged. Her path to the tree was unbroken, her posture steady, her gaze distant. It was as though she guarded something invisible, an echo of a moment, a memory etched into the bark of the oak. To those who watched her, she was more than just a dog, she was a keeper of something intangible yet profound, a living testament to a connection they couldn't quite grasp but deeply felt. The German shepherd's eyes told a story far deeper than her silent vigil. They were dark and soulful, pools of emotion that seemed to hold the weight of a world unseen. As she sat by the tree, those who ventured close enough couldn't help but notice the sadness etched into her gaze. It wasn't the fleeting sadness of a scolded pet or a momentary disappointment, it was something profound, something that lingered and spoke of longing, loss, and unshakable devotion. Her eyes didn't wander. They remained fixed on a distant point, as though searching for something or someone that wasn't there. The park's noise and movement seemed to fade in her presence, leaving only the quiet gravity of her watchfulness. Each blink was slow, deliberate, as if she was carefully shielding memories too precious to let go. Her movements, too, were deliberate and full of meaning. When she circled the base of the tree, it wasn't out of boredom or instinct but with a careful purpose, as though retracing steps she had taken before with someone at her side. When she lowered herself to sit, her posture was poised yet heavy, like a weight rested invisibly on her shoulders. Even the way she rested her head against the rough bark for a fleeting moment seemed to carry an intimacy, as if she were seeking comfort from the only connection she had left. Parkgoers who noticed her began to feel a strange pull, a sense that they were witnessing something deeply personal. Some spoke in hushed tones about the shepherd, their voices tinged with sympathy and curiosity. Others stood quietly, watching from a respectful distance, unable to tear their eyes away from the silent story unfolding before them. "She looks like she's waiting," one woman whispered to a friend. "Waiting for what?" her companion asked. The woman didn't answer, her gaze fixed on the dog's unmoving figure. She didn't have to say it, the unspoken answer hung in the air. She was waiting for someone who wouldn't come. Children, drawn by the shepherd's stillness, often approached with wide eyes and outstretched hands. But the dog remained indifferent, her focus unbroken. It wasn't that she didn't notice them, it was that her purpose was elsewhere, rooted in something far beyond their understanding. Her presence felt sacred, as if she were the guardian of an untold story. The oak tree itself seemed to reflect her emotions. Its rough bark bore the scars of time, and its gnarled roots twisted deep into the earth, anchoring it as firmly as the shepherd's loyalty. When the wind rustled its branches, it sounded less like the cheerful whispers of other trees and more like a soft sigh, a lament that matched the sorrow in her eyes. Those who passed by couldn't help but feel the weight of her sadness. It was contagious, a quiet ache that settled in their chests and lingered long after they left the park. Yet, intertwined with that sadness was something else, an undeniable beauty in her unwavering dedication. Her eyes, full of memories that no one else could see, spoke to a truth that was both heartbreaking and profound: love, even in its most painful form, was eternal. The German shepherd's silent vigil turned the ordinary into something extraordinary. Her presence transformed the park into a place of reflection, her eyes a mirror for anyone willing to look deeper. She wasn't just a dog sitting by a tree, she was a reminder of the bonds that tie us to each other, even when those bonds are stretched beyond the veil of loss. And through her, the parkgoers saw not just her story but fragments of their own. The German shepherd's quiet routine had captivated many who frequented the park, but it was an older man, a familiar face among the regular visitors, who finally broke the silence surrounding her story. He was a figure of quiet observation himself, often seen sitting on a bench not far from the tree, watching the shepherd with a knowing gaze. His presence was as steady as hers, though he had never interfered with her ritual until one day, curiosity and compassion prompted someone to ask him about the dog. "Do you know her story?" The question came softly, almost hesitant, as if speaking too loudly might disturb the reverence of the moment. The man looked up, his weathered face framed by a warm scarf, his eyes reflecting a mix of sorrow and understanding. "I do," he said simply, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. His answer drew the attention of nearby parkgoers, their ears pricking up as he began to speak. The man leaned forward slightly, his hands resting on the cane he always carried. "Her name is Bella," he began, his gaze drifting toward the tree where the shepherd sat, motionless as ever. "She wasn't always alone like this. She used to come here with her owner, a man named Thomas. They were inseparable." He paused for a moment, the weight of his words hanging in the crisp air. "Thomas would bring her here every morning. They had a routine. He'd throw a ball, and Bella would race after it, bounding across the grass like she didn't have a care in the world. She was happiest here, under this tree, where they'd rest together after their games." The listeners glanced toward Bella, now sitting quietly at the base of the oak, her gaze fixed on some distant memory. The man continued, his voice softening. "You could see the bond they shared. It wasn't just a man and his dog, it was deeper than that. She trusted him completely, and he adored her. This tree, it became their spot." His eyes clouded with a hint of sadness as he reached the part of the story that explained her vigil. "But one day, Thomas didn't come back to the park. He'd fallen ill, and," the man's voice faltered briefly before he steadied himself, "he passed away. Bella must have waited for him that day, and the next, and the one after that. And when she realized he wasn't coming back, she kept coming anyway." The park seemed to grow quieter as his words settled over the small gathering of listeners. The man's voice, though steady, carried the weight of years. "She doesn't know he's gone. Or maybe she does, in her own way. But she keeps coming to this tree because this is where she was happiest. This is where she still feels closest to him." A woman wiped at her eyes discreetly, her gaze lingering on Bella, who remained as still as ever. A child tugged at his father's sleeve, whispering, "She's waiting for him." The father nodded silently, his own throat tight with emotion. The man shifted slightly on the bench, his hands tightening around the top of his cane. "Dogs like Bella, they don't forget. Their love doesn't fade with time. She'll keep coming here, as long as she can, because this tree holds the memories of the life she shared with him." His words added a depth to Bella's presence that no one had grasped before. The dog sitting quietly under the oak was no longer just a mysterious figure, she was a living monument to loyalty, love, and loss. Her daily visits weren't simply a routine, they were a testament to the unbreakable bond she shared with someone who had meant everything to her. From that day on, those who saw Bella no longer wondered why she came to the tree. They knew. And knowing made her silent vigil all the more poignant. The park felt different now, the ancient oak imbued with a significance that seemed to extend beyond time. Bella's story, shared in the quiet voice of a man who had watched it unfold, became a lesson in love's endurance, and her presence at the tree a reminder of what it means to remember. When the truth about Bella's daily vigil beneath the oak tree spread through the park, it stirred something deep within the hearts of those who heard it. The once mysterious German shepherd, whose silent presence had intrigued passers-by, now became a living symbol of devotion. People couldn't ignore the weight of her story, and their reactions turned the park into a place of quiet reverence. Visitors began to approach Bella's tree with a sense of respect, as if stepping into sacred ground. Some brought treats, setting them gently at the base of the oak before stepping back to watch her reaction. Bella, though polite, rarely broke her focus. She would sniff at the offerings, wag her tail softly in acknowledgement, but her attention always returned to the horizon, her eyes scanning for something no one else could see. Others came not to give but simply to be near her. They brought blankets to spread out on the grass, sitting a few paces away from Bella, their presence a quiet gesture of solidarity. Parents brought their children, sharing Bella's story in hushed tones, teaching them about the bonds between humans and animals. The children, wide-eyed and solemn, often left small tokens for her: flowers, drawings, or even a toy ball, a subtle nod to the games she had once played with her owner. One elderly woman became a frequent visitor, always carrying a thermos of tea and a spare cup. She would pour some for herself and place the empty cup beside Bella, as though sharing a quiet moment of companionship. "I lost someone, too," she once whispered to the dog, her voice trembling. Though Bella didn't turn her head, the woman smiled softly, as if the shepherd's silent vigil offered her a sense of shared understanding. Joggers and cyclists who had once passed Bella without a second glance now slowed as they neared her tree. Some paused to watch her, their usual routes forgotten for a moment. Even those who didn't stop carried her story with them, the image of her steadfast presence etched into their minds. Bella's story spread beyond the park. Local newspapers picked it up, running headlines about the shepherd's unwavering loyalty. Photos of her sitting beneath the oak tree circulated online, accompanied by heartfelt captions about love, memory, and the enduring connection between humans and their dogs. Messages poured in from strangers who had never met Bella but felt touched by her story. Some shared their own tales of loss and loyalty, while others simply expressed their admiration for the dog who refused to forget. The oak tree itself became a symbol, its gnarled roots and wide branches a testament to the memories it sheltered. People began referring to it as Bella's tree, and it became a gathering place for quiet reflection. A group of parkgoers even placed a small plaque at its base, engraved with the words, "In honor of Bella and her devotion, a reminder of love that transcends time." Despite the attention, Bella remained unchanged. She continued her daily ritual, her path to the tree as steady as ever. She greeted those who came to sit with her with a gentle wag of her tail but never lingered with them for long. Her purpose wasn't for show, it was for something deeper, something tied to the memories only she could hold. For the visitors, Bella became more than just a dog. She was a symbol of the bonds that define us, the memories that shape us, and the love that endures even in the face of loss. Her story reminded them of the connections in their own lives, urging them to cherish the moments they had with loved ones while they could. The park, once just a place of routine for so many, became a little brighter, a little softer, because of Bella. Through her quiet devotion, she inspired acts of kindness and reflection, turning an ordinary oak tree into a monument to love and loyalty. The story of Bella, the German Shepherd, became more than just a tale of devotion, it became a reflection of what it means to love and to remember. Her daily vigil beneath the old oak tree was no longer just a ritual, it was a living symbol of loyalty that refused to fade, a testament to a bond so profound that even time and loss couldn't sever it. For those who heard about Bella or saw her sitting quietly by the tree, her story evoked deep emotions. She wasn't just a dog, she was a teacher in her own quiet way. Her unwavering presence reminded people of their own connections, of the loved ones they had lost, the moments they had cherished, and the promises they had made to themselves to never forget. Bella showed that devotion doesn't end when someone is gone, it continues, carried in the heart, woven into the fabric of everyday life. The oak tree, once an ordinary part of the park, became a place of pilgrimage for many. Families came to sit under its branches, some bringing their own dogs, others simply sitting in silence to reflect. It was as if Bella had imbued the space with something intangible yet deeply meaningful, a reminder of the fleeting nature of life and the enduring power of love. People began to share their own stories, inspired by Bella's loyalty. They spoke of grandparents who kept an empty chair at the dinner table for a loved one who had passed, of friends who revisited favorite places to feel close to someone they had lost, and of pets who stayed by their side through every trial. Bella's story wasn't just her own, it became a universal reminder of the connections that define us. Through her actions, Bella taught a lesson that resonated far beyond the park. She showed that love isn't just about presence, it's about the impact we leave behind, the memories we create, and the devotion that lingers even when the world moves on. Her silent, steadfast journey to the tree each day spoke volumes about the enduring nature of bonds formed in kindness and trust. If Bella's story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect on the bonds in your own life. Cherish the moments you have with loved ones, and remember those who are no longer here. And if you'd like to hear more stories that inspire, remind, and move us, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Together, let's celebrate the enduring power of love and the lessons we can learn from the world around us.